The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Nick Eatman, Brian Broaddus, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday, August 25th, 2022, Season 18, Episode number 21. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We're presented by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. And, man, I thought today was going to be a day where we try to cut this roster. Did not have any idea that this would be a day that we would actually spend most of our time, which I assume will happen on the offensive line. Cowboys get news last night. Tyron Smith injured. Nick, tell me what do we know at this point? What is the injury and kind of what do we know as far as his status right now?
Sounds like a torn hamstring. Hamstring coming off the bone from the knee area. Yeah, and surgery is needed. Could be out a couple months. Could be out the whole season. I mean, we'll see. What they'll probably do, I think, is put him on an IR. I can't hear myself. Put him on IR and you know, he'll be on the roster one day, go to IR the next day, and then that gives them the ability to bring him back at some point, as Jerry Jones has already said today on First Take that he expects him to be back for the playoffs, which hopefully the Cowboys are in the playoffs to do that.
You say that, and I want to go around the table, get everybody's opinion on this, but based on what you thought of this team, let's say yesterday at this time, to what you think of this team right now at this time, how much does this injury change that opinion on what they can be this year?
Man, that's because in my world, I always believe he's going to be out 3 games. You know, I always think, okay, what 3 games? At what
You're
point?
saying going to see, you expect Tyron's just going to miss 3 games at least.
I was expecting, you know, it's one of those things where health has been a little bit of a struggle for him, and it's not always his fault. You know, guys get knocked down behind him. They get knocked into his knee. They get knocked into his ankle. What happened yesterday was a very freak accident. If you look, I mean, he's blocking, he's engaged, and all of a sudden he crumples down to the ground, and you're like going, well, geez, how does that? You know, I mean, it's really no contact there, but you go into it feeling like he just has so much trouble staying healthy. And you don't know what part of the season that's going to take you down in. Is it going to take you down week 7, 8, and 9? Is it going to take you down at the end? It's one of those things you just have to just kind of know going in. But the amount of money you spend for him, his ability to play when healthy is still at a very high level, so you just accept that. Do I feel differently about this team? No, I don't. I feel like that let's see if the plan that they had, they kept telling us that Tyron Smith was a left side player. And if they're going to hold true to that, Tyron Smith should be your left tackle in this upcoming season to replace Tyron Smith.
I don't feel a whole different either, because that's just something that you kind of expected or would assume could happen. Obviously not to this extent and for this long of a time. And another thing is you are now having to rely on so many young guys that don't have a lot of experience. And another aspect that you look at, okay, well, these practices, even in the regular season, they would be practicing with a guy like Tyron Smith. So having his presence even there was a big thing for these younger players. So it's going to be interesting to see if, I have no idea who else they could even bring here, but would they bring someone else with a little bit more experience at this point, which I really don't think. I think they would kind of just go ahead and lean on the talent that they do have and see what's happening there. And another thing is, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, but you don't know with Tyron Smith, Connor McGovern, maybe this gives you better answers with this injury, what you're actually going to do with them too, and what position they're going to start out the season in.
Yeah, we definitely got.
Yeah, this team has a great history of first-round offensive linemen being plug-and-play guys, which, we haven't seen, and maybe it's because of the coaching staff, maybe because you're in a situation where, even though you win 12 games, there's still that pressure to win. And there's still, and if you talk to people, they'll say, well, maybe Tyler Smith hasn't picking up all the assignments as well. Maybe there's a little bit of apprehension about playing him, and that's why McGovern hasn't played poorly. But I just go back. This team has had a great history with being able to take first-round offensive linemen and plug them in and let them go. And I just don't see it right now. But this is likely forced their hand, because when you talk to people around the league about the Eric Fishers, the Isaiah Wynns, and people like that, it's like Eric Fisher is closer to the end than he is, where he was at one time. Isaiah Wynn at New England, that would have to be a trade. He's had problems with health himself. Knee, toe, Achilles, all these things have been something. Now, he played 15 games last year, but, New England's interested in moving on from him. So I'm with AG on this one. I just feel like that you're just going to go ahead, play with the guys you have, and see if you can make it work the best you can.
All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of how they move on from this. Nick, I do want to hear your opinion, though, on what do you think right now of this team relative to what you thought of them before this injury?
I think much differently about it, because you're right. I mean, you expect the injury, but you're hoping to get through these first 5 or 6 games when the schedule seems to be the toughest. And now you're not going to have them, and you're just hoping that these guys can play better. I mean, but it's not just the left tackle. I mean, you're hoping Terrence Steele is actually who you think he is, and Tyler Biotish, and
that was my biggest concern,
and all of that. So now here you are, and you got to figure that out. I would definitely sign up a guy today, and even if it's a guy at the end, like he's saying, Eric Fisher or somebody like that, I would do that, because I don't even know. This is no disrespect to the guys they've got, but how do we know how much of a beginning that Josh Ball and Matt Walesko even have? I mean, they're mid-round picks that may never make it. I mean, maybe they are. Maybe they're going to be Doug Freed. Maybe they're going to be James Martin. You don't know that, and they got to develop them. And so I would sign someone.
On that point, how much capital would you be willing to expend? Because let's assume you wanted to go out. There's not a lot in free agency, so it's not really a question of necessarily money. Although they do have cap space. It is probably
don't we guys?
Yeah, they do. But the point is the people on the street right now, they're probably not going to cost you a ton of money.
Yeah.
This is more of an issue of, are you willing to actually go out and spend some draft capital in order to trade for someone? Are you willing to do that? How much are you willing to give up?
Maybe. I mean,
are you willing to get all the way up there where you're talking about first, second round, third round picks? Or
if I have an Amari Cooper type of situation where I'm trading for a younger player that
first contract kind of thing
could get re-signed next year, yeah, I could do that, because you have a problem. This isn't one of those things where it's like Tyron Smith, he's going to miss this year. After that, he's good. No, this could be the end of it for him. This could be his last year. They were talking about this being his last year anyways, before all this.
Yeah, 2 things you need to think about. When they had receiver by committee, they took a first-round pick and went and got a receiver. Mm-hmm. Second thing is the compensatory formula with the way that they lost the players that they did. You'll likely get some draft capital back that way. 3rd, 4th round pick, maybe a 5th round pick you'll get back. So with that in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to have some compensatories. I'll trade my own pick. I'll recoup that when I get the compensatory back, and then go from there. I'll just be probably picking a little bit later in the draft, but I would take current draft capital and go with it.
Now, go ahead.
I was going to, and sorry, but, when it comes to picks, there are certain things that I'm like, okay. But being so close to having to cut down the team, and we were talking about how much depth there is in certain positions and how much talent there is. I mean, is there, given the time that we're at, because if you're a team, you're waiting to see who are you going to get cut, who can we get. Is that even a possibility where you grab a player and you figure out some kind of trade, throw in draft?
Yeah.
I'm calling any team that I think needs defensive tackle, defensive line help. I need, because I've got them. Now the thing
But
about
does that happen before cuts or after cuts?
Yeah,
or,
you
like,
don't
what
want
do
to fight.
do?
You don't want to fight for guys. You don't want to have to try and put in claims because of the order. Because if you're a good team but you're struggling at defensive tackle, your claiming priority is at the bottom of the claim. So instead of fighting somebody, go ahead and make the trade. I talked to a team today that was asking me about, hey, what about all these defensive tackles? What are you guys going to do at defensive tackle? And they were very impressed watching the tape of what the Cowboys were doing. The word I got was stacked at defensive tackle. And they were trying to figure all that out. So, like to Nick's point, if you could find a team that might have a surplus at tackle, which not every team does, maybe you flip one of those defensive tackles, or I'd flip a defensive end.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: How high are you willing to go on your depth chart in flipping those guys?
Right.
And what I'm getting to is, like, are you willing to go to the top and you say somebody like DeMarcus Lawrence is someone you'd be willing to trade, or do you like thinking, let's look at defensive tackle and maybe take somebody like a Tristan Hill who is in the last year of his deal, showing some promise, but we're willing to trade him and maybe we can get some capital for him?
Yeah, I was thinking about that this other day. Let's say you're looking at the whole D line, and you're going to keep 10 or 11, and there's 14 that you really like. Ideally, you would love to try to trade 12, 13, and 14, but it doesn't work that way. You have to trade 7,
and you
8.
need value back, right? You're trying to get value back.
So
This is not just that. Yeah.
7, 8, 9, maybe 6 of that list, and so you're talking about some players that are potential starters.
If you didn't have, let's say, a $4 million cap hit on Dorrance Armstrong, I would consider moving him, because you've got to throw big bait to get big fish.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the plan. Now, if you really believe, we'll see how committed they are. We'll see how committed, because if all of a sudden they talk about moving a first or second round pick for somebody that's a really high end player, then they're committed to trying to get that thing fixed. But if it turns into Tristan Hill, then you're going to probably get the same type of player for the player that you just gave up.
All right, so let's do this. I'm interested in this conversation. Why don't you guys give me, if you had to say your top 4 players, defensive tackle or defensive end, you rank them 1 to 4. Who are those players?
We do go in the locker room, and so don't try to get me to trade somebody. I
No.
don't want to trade.
And honestly, and I'm not even going
It's
there.
a conversation.
So much. I'm not
It
going,
is,
but
yeah.
the reason why I ask it that way is because I want to know, like, if you're trying to get a really good tackle, you might have to play in that 1 through 4 level of guy.
When you
and this is like, they have a lot of good players. And I started thinking about this. I said, if I had to rank these, I don't really know how I would necessarily
It's hard to rank
them.
the tackles because none of them are. Every single one of them have played in the preseason. Because there's not
right
now. Dorrance and Tank get the star treatment at tackle.
Yeah.
So I would think they're the 2 best defensive ends. But then after that at tackle, I mean,
I'll tell you what the funny thing is, that people know too much about Basham. But if you watch Basham play, he's had some production. If you follow DallasCowboys.com, they'll tell you that, hey, he intercepts passes and stuff in these practices that they have.
He's been good.
You can watch that. It's to the point where, he was actually winning reps against Tyron Smith.
Yeah.
Now, is that the fall off of Tyron Smith, or has Basham gotten better? 5 years ago, he's not winning 1 rep against Tyron Smith. But now, he has. And so is there some type of a little bit of an improvement there? But yeah, I think that, to me, it's just how serious do you want to be about this? Do you move on from one of these corners? Do you find with the way that Bland's playing, do you try and trade Brown or somebody like that?
Would you be willing to give up Gallimore? Because Gallimore, I think, is in that realm of, we think he's going to be a really good player. He's still young. Like, are you willing to give up that caliber of player?
If Bohanna is the guy that could play the nose, if you feel like that Bohanna, and I know that Gallimore could play both, but you got Osa there. And so you're thinking like, okay, Osa, and they use Golston as a 3. So maybe it's one of those things where you say, yeah, well, you can move on from Gallimore, but people will look at that and they'll say, what's the health there? What's the health? That's a big thing with people, because Jerry even brought it up about availability. That's something that I think teams look at as well.
I would watch that one clip against Washington last year when he came back from injury after being gone for so long, and he basically just moved the center like 12 yards back.
Oh, no, absolutely,
into the quarterback.
Yeah, he just lifted him. He just took him with him.
I'm not ready to trade that guy just yet. And also, first play of preseason this year. I mean, like,
But if you get a comparable offensive tackle, are you willing to move that guy? And what I mean by that, a young offensive tackle on their first contract that you feel like has promise, are you willing to do that?
Okay, only the GM in Jacksonville in the movie Draft Day is going to do that, where they basically just like some guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's like, I got this really young offensive tackle who's really good, and I'm going to trade him. Like they don't do that. They don't trade guys like that. You have to trade. You said Tristan Hill.
Yeah.
You have to trade the Tristan Hill comparison at tackle. Second-year pick, hasn't done as much as you think. Not everyone loves the guy, but he's pretty good. Shows flashes here and there, but this could be his last year. Let's move on, see if we can get something for him, and maybe he needs a fresh
Isaiah
start.
Wynn in New England.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like where's your Mark Colombo? Like the guy that didn't quite live up to expectations, but has some opportunity.
But he was
like,
hurt
can
too.
grow.
Mark
He
was hurt
that's
a
the thing.
lot.
It was the injury
That's why
that
they
was the
gave up
problem
on him.
for
Yeah,
that was why they gave up. But you want to project a little bit. Like, man, if we can keep him healthy, he's still young. We can get a lot of years of really good production from him. That's the guy you're probably trying to look for right now because you can maybe get something.
That's what I'm struggling with. Looking at the whole list and all these names, defensive end and defensive tackle, the only guy that's like at the top, DeMarcus Lawrence, and mainly because of who he is and what he's been here for the Cowboys. Other than that, and other than a few names that kind of fall way down at the bottom of the list, everybody else is kind of like right there. Like I don't know how to really distinguish them that much. Like it's all kind of like, okay, this guy gives you this and that, but this guy gives you this, and it's like there's no behind DeMarcus. There's no one else that I'm like, okay, this guy definitely would be second that I would keep here, or it has a highest value. I don't.
You also might be able to get, instead of trading a team that needs defensive tackle help and has a surplus at offensive line, you might be able to just trade for a pick, a fifth-round pick, a sixth-round pick, which you're using
to move on
to another team that does have that.
Yeah, I think that to me, really early in camp, the Bears were talking about Tevin Jenkins, who was a second-year player out of Oklahoma State, and they moved him from tackle to guard, and they're kind of working him back in and stuff like that. There was a lot of rumbling coming from Chicago that they were just going to willing to move on from him, and it might be a situation where you have a new general manager and a new coach up there. And so all of a sudden, that Tevin Jenkins is a guy that wasn't drafted by the current regime. So you got to find somebody that might be a little bit like what you did with Robert Quinn.
Yeah.
Robert Quinn didn't fit what they were doing with the 3-4 defense. So all of a sudden, you got a guy like Robert Quinn for a pretty good price.
And this is not to say the Cowboys need to go get Tevin Jenkins because I don't want anybody to think we're tampering.
tampering.
What we are doing,
I'm mentioning names. I'm sorry about that.
What I want to make clear is the point is these are the types of scenarios that the Cowboys need to be looking for. They need to be looking for teams that have these kind of scenarios. Whether it's new coach, new GM, whether it's
that's what we just said.
It's
Different
those kind of
regime.
scenarios.
They didn't draft
those
him.
kind of scenarios.
But I'll say this: I was right down there when Tristan Hill made a great play, and you should have seen the way Mike McCarthy grabbed him and kind of didn't headbutt him, but I mean just was right there, just whatever he told him. But you could just tell how proud he was of him making a play. So different regime. And I'm not trying to say Tristan Hill is on the outside looking in here. I'm just saying a guy that from another team that hasn't lived up to their expectations just yet, that maybe they do want to move on from.
All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, I have a couple things I want to get into. One, is Tyron Smith maybe approaching that part of his career where you start thinking maybe you have to move on? And then also I want to talk a little bit more about these tackles. They did get Matt Willetts go back and practice. He's now practicing. Where is he with his shoulder injury? What do you think of some of the guys that are currently on this roster and their ability now to be able to move out to tackle or play tackle if they've been doing it on a regular basis as a starter? We'll talk about those things when we come back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Little Sweet! Did you get to work on time?
Yeah, but I just realized it's Sunday.
Little Sweet says head on home. Dr. Pepper's on its way. So sweet, unique. Baby, there's nothing better. I bet you've probably done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper. Did you invest your nest egg in an NFT?
Yeah, and I don't even know what that is.
It's a non-fungible token. Everyone's done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper.
Back to the break.
Seeing is important. We want you to make sure and see everything, and Essilor Lenses lets you do that. Book an appointment at your local Essilor experts and find the perfect Essilor lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break, live from SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. The segment's brought to you by blockchain.com. Let's talk about the Tyron Smith and kind of where the Cowboys should be thinking he is at this point. I remember, Brian, you said back in 2016, I remember this, we were talking about Tony Romo and his injuries, and you said, he is at a point in his career where he's getting hurt doing routine football things. And once you get a player to that point, then you kind of have to really start thinking long-term, this may not be the guy. We got to move on. We got to figure out. And to be honest with you, let's give credit to the Cowboys organization from the standpoint that the pick that they made this year, in my opinion, was about the fact that they were preparing for the day when they'd have to move on from Tyron Smith. Do you think this latest injury now accelerates that, and you expect the Cowboys or think the Cowboys at this point should be moving on from Tyron Smith after this season?
Nick's got to go. AG and Nick got to go in that locker room.
I know it's a hard question. No. It's a hard question.
You know what? It's I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to say yes because if I go into a season and here I am, guy on the radio, evaluating team and working for .com again, I'm looking at this going, if I feel this way, how should they feel? I mean, sitting in that chair as a personnel guy, when you start to see the end, you're like going, that's it. I can't let this player hold me hostage anymore. I can't. I know his salary's great. I know when he's playing, he's healthy. He's one of the best players in the league. But then all of a sudden, it's like he wakes up in Philadelphia in a bad hotel room and his back all of a sudden flares up, and I can't have him that day. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of feel like that it's something that is just hanging over this organization's head right now. And it's just there's so much convenience about it, and it's so neat and tidy because of the contract and the ability and all that. But I think it's to the point now where you definitely need to move on from this. And
I think that they've done that in the sense of drafting the future. They drafted a guy that is still, raw and a project and maybe not ready to play left tackle. And they knew that. But they were hoping he could play left guard. And as it stands right now, he's not even beating out Connor McGovern. But, the future could be now.
Well,
so
yeah,
that could be to me. That's probably the best option, in my opinion, is saying, "Big fella, we drafted you first round, and we were trying to hold your hand here and let you walk, but start running. Sorry,
you have to.
I mean,
this is how committed I was last year, and as great of a football player as Micah Parsons is." On radio when we were doing draft coverage with 105.3 and DallasCowboys.com, I would have taken Slater from Northwestern and Bolton, the linebacker from Missouri, and that had been my first and second round picks. As great of a football player as Micah Parsons has shown, to me, I was already looking forward to taking Rashawn Slater and putting him at guard and then moving him to tackle. That's what I was looking for. And, it's one of those things, it's like the J.J. Watt, Tyron Smith thing when they were drafted back-to-back. Both teams look great right now. But you might have a generational player out here. I get it. But we're also now having a show about the offensive line.
Yeah, I get that. And I'll tell you this, on draft day that year, I was with you. I was like, Slater should have been the pick. They need a tackle. They need to replace.
They did a great job.
They need to replace him. But
yeah.
I will say this, what I've seen from Micah Parsons to this point.
No question.
I don't question that pick at all. Because the way I look at it is, yes, there's great value, extreme value in getting a 10 to 15 year left tackle that's going to hold it down. We've seen what you can do when you have that guy in place and you don't have to worry about it. But when you start talking about guys that you start mentioning with the likes of Lawrence Taylor and those kinds of defensive players, like all-time greats, and you're saying after 1 year, man, he's got some of those traits. Like that's the kind of player he looks like he might end up being. I'm going to take that because to me, I look at that and I say, and I've already seen it. It has transformed this defense between what Dan Quinn is able to do and in my opinion, not just what he's able to do, but what he's able to do with a player like Micah Parsons. To me, I'm like, I'll take that because even in a year like this one where you're now worried about what's going to happen offensively, this might be a year where this defense is ultimately going to be the way they have to win games, and I can do that when I have a player like Micah Parsons on my defense.
Yeah, I mean, I totally believe if Dak Prescott and Micah Parsons plays all 17 games this year, that I think that they'll play 20. I really believe.
Oh,
I think
okay, Nick, let's go.
But that doesn't necessarily mean you're in the Super Bowl because you could play 3.
But 20 is a lot. That's more than we've played in how many years?
Yeah, I think those two guys.
Not including preseason, right?
Not including.
Okay,
No.
Just making sure.
No, because they haven't played. They
Okay,
haven't
good,
even played
good.
those games.
Good.
So yeah, they have their clock hasn't started yet. I think that's how valuable Micah Parsons is, and Dak as well. But definitely Micah Parsons. I think Micah Parsons is the best football player on the team. I think he's a top 5 in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I totally understand the logic, and they got lucky. I mean, they got lucky.
They did.
They did. They got lucky that he fell. They got lucky that Micah didn't play in COVID year, and that nobody really knew he could rush the passer, including them.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's maybe you draft that player to Mike Nolan and you don't get that. You know, with Dan Quinn coming in here and having vision, because I can honestly tell you watch Penn State film, you could see him blitz and things like that,
but
not around the edge like that. That right there was coaches having a real good understanding, and maybe a little bit out of desperation. You know, when you start losing guys, maybe it was a little bit of like, guys, we've got to figure something out. How about that 245-pound guy right there that we just drafted? What do you think about bringing him off the edge? You know, well, let's see what we got there. Yeah, but they had that very early, I felt like.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the guard position. I made up a bunch of notes. I understand some of this in our minds may have changed since we got the news of Tyron Smith. But yesterday, Mike McCarthy was talking about the guard position. He said if we started today, Connor would be the left tackle, talking about Connor McGovern. Tyler, like the other rookies, needs game reps. I don't think you take the rookie and line him up right now is what you would assume he's meaning as the starter. That all being said, do you guys think they handled the situation properly with McGovern? And because if he's saying we need more reps, Nick, you wrote an article about it. They had an opportunity to get him more reps. They chose to split those reps.
But what have I said through this whole process? I was like, I think the reason why they are doing this with Tyler Smith and McGovern ultimately is because of Tyron Smith. I think that they feel like Tyron could go down in a practice against air and fall and get hurt, and now McGovern has to have reps.
I get it.
I think that's why.
Now let me ask you this: if that's the case, then why weren't they giving Tyler Smith reps at tackle, knowing that they may have to do that?
Because maybe you're right. Maybe that's.
I think they're trying to figure out if Ball can play.
Can he? Because that's my like. I've watched. I believe
training
that. Camp. I've not seen enough to make me feel comfortable with him protecting my $40 million quarterback's blind side.
Comfort is out the window.
Good point.
You are done feeling comfortable.
The air
about
conditioner
this
just broke.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those.
We're in a hot house right now.
Hot house. It's 84 degrees.
Yeah, we're in a hot
you call
house.
the company and they're like, "We're backed up. We won't get to you for a while."
It's 84 degrees at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
So deal with it, because and it's always like a Friday, night where you're done till Monday.
I've been pretty annoyed at
No.
This whole when?
Since you started, when you walked in the tennis courts that day.
Yeah. No, but my problem is we get to training camp and then we see him just kind of bouncing around, right? Then he gets to a point at training camp where we hear Coach Mike McCarthy. He talks about, no, we're gonna put him at a spot so he can.
Who are you talking about when you say him?
Tyler Smith.
Okay, got it.
Tyler Smith. We're gonna let him just stay at one spot.
Yep.
I think that lasted maybe a day or something, not even, or I don't know. But next thing I know, he's back at switching and moving around. So it never really got to that point where they put him specifically at whether it was tackle or center. I mean, not center, sorry, guard. And now he's switching back and forth, and still you got all this confusion. My thing is, like, why, when you're trying, and I get your point, Nick, and I guess if they have that in the back of the head, then that makes a little more sense. But initially, even when you hear Mike McCarthy say, you don't want to throw a rookie out there and let them just, I'm like, well, you just drafted a first-round pick.
Right.
And what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? That's what you do. That's what
true.
it is.
That's
So
true.
little comments like that, I'm just like, what are we doing? Why don't you simplify things for him, give him a spot? But then now I can't really go on full with that argument now that Nick put that in my head too, that if they were looking at it that way, then it makes more sense.
But let's also be clear, when you're talking about a first-round pick that's closer to the latter half of the first round, I don't know if you put them in the category of guys that should be immediate starters. I look at those kind of guys, and I'm like, at some point maybe in their rookie year, maybe they should be a starter. I don't know that I would say by week one they need to be a starter. What do you guys think?
I agree, but if the guy that's ahead of them gets hurt and you're out for the season,
then you just throw him in.
I think so, because this is supposed to be the future. He's supposed to play it, and there's another player that's kind of, there's always domino effect. There's another player in this that I think needs to be mentioned, and that's Matt Farniok, because Farniok has played a lot last week, and the reason why I'm saying that is I think you got to go with Tyler Smith at left tackle. And left guard, you're hoping McGovern can do it, even though he's going to start at center. But Farniok is a guy that could also factor into this.
Fullback.
Yeah, McGovern's going to play.
Yeah.
I don't know where. He
Yeah.
could snap it. He could make the call. He could be the fullback. He could catch a pass. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not drafting him on my fantasy team yet, but I mean he's going to be out there somehow.
Yeah.
But I don't know where. But I'm just saying Farniok, there's a lot of, as Parcells would say, a lot of moving parts here.
Are you saying that you think he should be factored in at tackle, guard?
No,
what are you saying?
not
What are you
tackle.
saying?
I'm sorry. I just think his role, he's got some depth issues that if you're worried about the interior now, let's just say Tyler is the guy and you're worried about what's
He can
going
play
on
the
here.
guard.
He can play the guard.
He absolutely
get in
can.
there.
He
Better than
absolutely
McGovern?
More athletic?
He might play next to McGovern. I'm
Yeah.
just saying there's options.
Yeah.
There's options. Yeah. There's a reason they're going to start McGovern at center tomorrow night. Friday night?
Yeah.
Friday night.
So we play
tomorrow.
Let's say
I think.
tomorrow's an actual. We're opening the season opener. We're ready to go. What does your line look like?
Oh gosh.
Well, I've thrown up twice. I've thrown up, and I'll clean that up. Maybe.
Only twice. That's good.
Yeah. No. I'll start at right guard. Zach
I was going to
Martin.
say Zach
I'll
Martin.
let you go. I got Zach Martin.
We
Your
know the
turn.
right side. Actually,
Yeah.
we know the right side. We know Steele.
Do we?
Yes, I think we do.
No. I say that because what if Terrence Steele's a better left tackle?
I don't think he is.
See,
you?
that's
Well, he's got the feet for it.
yeah, that's the thing. They played him out there, and it was probably they'll probably have to help him more. He doesn't
Yeah.
want to play over there.
I think he's
either.
better on the right side. Personally.
I'm going to go with it. Tyler Smith
left.
Yeah, Tyler Smith left. McGovern, Biotish, Martin, Steele.
Yeah.
That's going to open the game.
And then who's that inactive for you, dressed up?
Wait, you mean who's active?
Yeah, like the three more.
Ball
Yeah.
is Ball's going to be my swing,
yeah.
and this is at least through week one. Ball's my swing, and Farniak's playing center in the two guard spots.
And you have to have 8. Actually, I think it's a rule. You have to have 8 dressed. So I'm curious who would be.
I was
8.
trying to think who you were going to add as that 8th guy. It might
Well,
be.
let's go.
Let's go or Collins.
Vontae Collins.
Collins. I'll tell you what. Let me tell you something too. Alarcon has not looked bad. And I'm saying playing tackle and guard, and I'm not trying to stretch this thing.
No,
I am not trying.
There.
I mean, he is for being on the team now for 3 years, right? We're in our third year with him. Is there workable stuff with him? Yeah, there is. Enough to start with him. Man, I have not seen him get beat in any of the.
So strong.
Now, again, you guys have gone to every single practice. I haven't. But the all 22, when you watch him play, he's played guard, he's played tackle, and he's more than serviceable.
This could have maybe created an opportunity for him to make the team, right?
Yeah.
Injury?
I hope.
Well, because Farniak could play all the spots. But if you're talking about him or Collins, I liked him better than Collins playing as that backup tackle guy.
Here's what I hope doesn't hurt him is that coaches, or teams, or people are greedy. You know, they want extra everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a chance to have an extra practice squad spot. It's 16 spots, but you could be 17 if Isaac's on the team because he doesn't count because of the international program that he's been on. The minute that he actually goes to the roster for just one game because somebody's hurt, whatever, it's over.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then it's no longer a part of the international program. It's just he's just a player.
So that just means he's got to be head and shoulders above Avante Collins and those guys, and maybe he is.
Let me tell you this. I'm going to be real honest here. I usually am. If he overly honest sometimes. If he's on that practice squad and I'm on another club, I'm stealing him from you. I'm making him my 10th lineman.
Yeah.
The guy has got power. He's not slow-footed anymore. He works hard. He doesn't bust on his assignments. 3 years of there's development right there.
Position flex.
There's some development right there. And is it better than some of the guys? I think he's better than Collins right now, but they would probably keep Collins over him just because of a veteran situation.
I'm so rooting for him just because it's such an amazing story. I mean, you're talking about a guy. You're thinking about all these players in the NFL.
Guys got
most of these players, they play from the time they are 5 years old and they're playing top-level talent in college and then get into the NFL and still have to adapt to the NFL. And this young man didn't get the benefit of that. The kids he was playing with in Mexico don't have near the level of talent that.
I know that when he got here, it was hard for him trying to find the balance of you know what, I'm not just here because I'm Mexican and this is, the Cowboys are trying to appeal to the Mexico market and all that. So he was having to deal with that.
Yeah.
But now he's gotten to the point where he is becoming that, and he needed that time to grow, and he's shown that kind of growth. And last time I spoke to Will McClay, what he mentioned, he's like, he is there.
Yeah.
Now it's just a matter of letting it become natural to where that football awareness that you only get when you're in a real game. Mm-hmm. So it's to the point where he's at the level where he needs to be when these college players transition into the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's starting to, now we're at the same level. Now I just got to let it become natural and learn that instinct that they need to learn.
He looks super comfortable playing football right now.
Yeah.
It maybe is a little helter-skelter when he first started. Now he looks comfortable in what he's trying to do.
So I just want to make sure we're giving listeners out there.
I made him the starter at left.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I want to give the listeners out there a real context of what you're saying. Are you saying he's at the level now where, and I'm not saying you're saying this, but where
I probably am if you're thinking
he should be considered among those people that can play as a starter? Or do you think he's just a guy right now that because of where he was to where he is now, it's just a remarkable story, and he could be a swing tackle type guy.
He could play guard and he could play tackle, and I would keep him as my 9th or 10th guy.
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
So probably inactive, but on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, what I'm thinking here is on Tuesday, Tyron's got to be on the roster.
Yep.
Jerry basically said we're going to be in the playoffs and he'll be ready for the playoffs. It's basically what he said on First Take.
Well, you just said they're playing 20 games, so you're with him.
If they're healthy. But here's the thing. Dak's got to be part of that. And if your left tackle is ball or
him
let's
getting through
go
20
or whatever,
games.
No. And nothing against them, but they're just not ready.
Yeah,
they're not ready. Now, we'll say this, though. And
I'm like, forget about just health. I'm like, there's just talent overall. I mean, even if they're all, because they're all healthy right now except for Tyron.
Tyler.
Yeah, but that's not major. No. He's gonna be fine. It's not. He'll be fine. So he'll be in there. But just looking at it, even with all the guys in, you're still having a lot of questions.
Yeah.
As far as level.
But the good thing about this is that in practice, like you said, Isaac's looked good not only in the game but also in practice.
Yeah.
And we just talked about where the strength of this team is. Like when does an offensive tackle or guard get a break going up against the Cowboys D line? When? Yeah. I mean, Josiah Brunson is making a case to make the team. Like they've got good players all across the board there. So I think that they're getting tested pretty good. What I was going to say is Tyron Smith has to be on the roster the first day, and then they will move him to IR. I think that spot right there is where they'll claim, they'll trade, they'll do something with another veteran guy or somebody there.
Yeah. Well, you might have a vested veteran situation where they can go out and maybe go and get a guy that doesn't have to go through waivers.
Right.
I think that maybe the last cut, do they have to go through waivers? I always forget that thing. Sometimes it's the vested veterans don't have to do it, then they don't. But the Cowboys are talking about manipulation of roster with vested veterans, so I think that rule's changed. It used to be the last cut they had to go through. I just think that this thing with the Tyron Smith injury, it's forced their hand earlier than they wanted to.
All right,
that's all it is.
We're going to take our final break. We'll come back. We'll wrap this up. We'll talk a little bit about Tyler Smith. I want to dive into a little bit more about where he is in his injury and how much this affects, how much the injury affects his ability to maybe get ready to play at tackle if they want to start him there in Week 1. We'll do that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Did you get to work on time?
Yeah, but I just realized it's Sunday.
Little Sweet says head on home. Dr. Pepper's on its way. So sweet, unique. Baby, there's nothing better. I bet you've probably done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper. Did you invest your nest egg in an NFT?
Yeah, and I don't even know what that is.
It's a non-fungible token. Everyone's done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Brace yourself for an existential question. Has your butt been having enough fun lately? Have you been treating it well? Has it been going places? If not, then it's about time you start using SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the best way to get your butt tickets to live events. Just ask the thousands of other butts who have rated it the #1 ticketing app. So what are you waiting for? Download the app now or visit SeatGeek.com to get tickets to sports, concerts, and live events and make your butt happy. SeatGeek. Get your seat in a seat.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, sinking, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Back to the break.
Tonight, Dallas Cowboys players, coaches, and alumni arrive on the blue carpet for the inaugural season kickoff presented by Blockchain.com. Join us on the Tostitos Championship Plaza at the Star in Frisco beginning at 4 p.m. for the blue carpet viewing. Then stick around as the event is live streamed on the Plaza big boards. For more information, visit thestarinfrisco.com. It's going to be hot. Bring your fans. The fans need to bring the fans.
Yeah, they do.
It's going to be hot, but it's going to be fun.
It will be fun. And if you're not in the area, you will actually be able to watch this on television. I think it's going to be Monday night. We'll have some more information for you on the website, but it'll be, I think, Monday night on NFL Network.
How many shirts would you go through if you had to stand out there the whole time?
Man. Yeah, it looked like Michael Irvin over there sweating through that suit.
Don't wear a blue shirt. Yeah, don't wear a dark suit.
That'd be like that coach at Texas A&M.
Yeah,
basketball coach. You know what I'm talking about? What's his name?
What's that guy in Arizona? Oh, Buzz. Yeah, Buzz. The guy, what was the guy in Arizona that used to do that too? That he would
Corey Miller lookalike.
Yeah, the Corey Miller.
Yeah.
He would
like Corey Miller.
Sean Miller.
Sean Miller.
Like
he would take off his jacket and his shirt was like someone. I'm like,
y'all don't know Corey Miller. Those out there listening, he works with us. But that's
look him up. You can find his picture.
He might have been sweating for other reasons, but coaching at Arizona. There.
All right, real quick. We don't have a lot more time left. I do want to talk real quick before we end the show about Tyler Smith.
Glad you remember
what's the issue right now as far as what's his injury status? I know he's got an injury. What's the status there?
Tyler Smith.
Is the ankle.
Yeah, Tyler Smith.
Yeah, is the ankle.
And what are we looking at as far as time? Like I know that it's an injury that they keep saying isn't that serious. Is this something that we're expecting him to maybe miss a day or two, or is this more like a week? How does this affect? Like if they're really thinking this is our guy, we need to go into week 1 playing tackle, but he hasn't played tackle all during camp. Like you don't have a lot of time. Every day is precious. How much is this injury affecting their ability to be able to get him ready?
I think, I could reach out. I know we all can reach out and ask and stuff like that. So I'm going to say that the way McCarthy was talking about it, we were all kind of sitting there. He didn't sound like it was significant. But when you say not significant, is that another week, I think there's going to be – they're probably going to get through this week right here, get through the game, and then next week they'll probably see him out there with Britt doing some stuff like that, and then getting back.
I would love for him to play left tackle tomorrow night.
Yeah,
but is that? But I guess my question is, if we're talking about, let's say that because he's been injured all week, he's not going to play tomorrow night.
Yeah.
I wouldn't suspect that left tackle.
Right.
That being said, you got a week.
Yeah,
well, really 2 weeks. If he can practice by next week, you got 2 weeks. Is that enough time to get him ready to be a starter at left tackle going into a game against Tampa Bay?
No, I mean enough time.
Yeah,
it's not enough time. But you don't have enough time, so I mean that's kind of irrelevant. I mean, like you I understand you got to get the best guys out there, and you're not going to rush him back from injury. You would love to see him out there. They're going to throw a lot of options at this. They're looking at this. Terrence Steele honestly could go to left tackle too. I probably would start. I think you got 4 tackles that you want to see a lot in this game. You got Ball, Let's Go, Avante Collins, and I think Isaac at this point.
Yeah,
and I would play them all. I would play them all in there.
Hear me out. This is a possibility.
No, I know where you're going. No,
this is a possibility. We've seen it before. Zach Martin, move Terrence Steele. Then you got your Connor McGovern playing guard. Then you got Tyler Smith also playing guard, which you have been kind of giving him a bunch of reps.
I'm just
saying that's a lot of moving around.
I am not putting Zach Martin out at tackle at this point in his career. I think he's very comfortable being a guard. He made it clear he does not want to be at tackle.
But sometimes you got to do something.
No, I hear what you're saying, but when it's a guy with skins on the wall like him, I listen to what he has to say. If he's like, hey, that's not where I want to be, I listen to that.
Here's my thing to that. Like, you're not wrong. That's good thinking, because you're trying to be serviceable and good at all spots. I need somebody to be great. And I don't know if Zach Martin, oh man, I hate saying this.
He will be.
Would he be great?
I think
Would he be great at right tackle?
When we've seen him at tackle, he was pretty great.
He handled it pretty well.
He was pretty great.
Yeah.
No,
But I need a guy to be great.
I don't think he's had a holding call in 3 years.
Yeah.
I think he's got more all-pros than
he does.
holding
Yeah, I
calls.
saw that the other day. Yeah,
That's
pretty funny.
I mean, I wasn't trying to go that way the whole season.
No, you were actually
you're
thinking.
trying to get through Tampa.
I was trying to get through something to say,
I don't think you're wrong.
Nothing's
Big picture, though. I don't think you're wrong.
Nothing's off the table. It really is.
Yeah.
We've got. I wouldn't do that, because when he sat out there one day and said, I'm a right guard.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then you're a right guard, because you can be phenomenal still.
And he's earned the right to be able for you to listen to him.
Let's also remember
that,
this: Tampa Bay, the first game of the season last year, he did not play because of COVID.
Right.
They were afraid to do anything in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
They went outside. Everything
Didn't
was
run.
way out. They didn't even run
60
up the middle.
yards. Yeah.
Even the big play that Zeke, the tight end, missed the block, and Zeke got tackled at the 2, and I mean, you would like to run the ball up the middle, and I don't think they would have been afraid to test anybody if Zach's in there.
Yep.
So I think you could be somewhat one-dimensional. I'd like to have a little bit of strength in the interior. I think he makes Tyler Biotish better as well, which I need him to be better too.
How about this game with Tampa could come down to which offensive line, patchworked as is, can hold up in a whole game and
That's
win.
huge.
Yeah.
That is becoming the storyline of that game so far going into it.
Yeah.
Both teams having a lot of struggles there. All right. We appreciate you guys joining us. We will be back next week. We'll be on Tuesday and Thursday again next week. And then the following week, week 1 of the NFL season, we'll start our daily shows that Tuesday. And we'll be running every day of the week all the way through the season. And as Nick says, even into the postseason, maybe into week 20 or 21.
We'll all meet in Arizona for the Super Bowl.
There we go. We're in.
I just gave you the information there, the 411. You keep the 411 ready to go, Dak and Parsons.
There we go.
That's the information
There
you
we
need.
go.
20 games.
All right. Appreciate you guys joining
Plus.
us. We'll be back next week. Till then, for Nick Eatman, Brian Broaddus, Amber Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break. Live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!